Up next, House Bill 745, Representative Boyle. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. I'm Judy Boyle, Representative District 9. I'm here to bring to you House Bill 745. This is about unions, and it's about labor, which is why I'm in front of you. So this bill just ensures that no tax dollars will be used for specific union activities. This does not affect the police unions, and it does not affect the firefighters. So it's very important that you understand that, and it's important to them that you understand that. This will just prevent the teachers union basically from using taxpayer dollars for union activities. So as you know, there are 115 traditional public school districts. 83 of those have unions. Charters are not allowed to have unions. This is not about stopping collective bargaining. It's not going to affect that. It is just going to stop the $1.2 million of taxpayer money, which should go to the classroom instead of to the unions. So what does this bill do? If you'll turn to page 3, the first part mostly is definitions. On page 3, starting with line 31, this does not allow tax dollars to promote union activities by deducting dues on behalf of the union. 52 of the school districts do that. And then when you go to line 37, there will not be increased employee compensation to cover union dues. At least 2 schools do this, Boise and Twin Falls, those districts. On line 40, the union, or the school district, is not allowed to provide more personal information to the union than is required by law. So they cannot provide where they live, their personal cell phones, that kind of thing. If you go to line 45, the districts cannot require their employees to meet with the union. That is done at least in Twin Falls and some of the other districts. And on line 47, districts are not allowed to distribute communications on behalf of the union. If you go to page 4 now of the bill, line 1, they are not to contribute public dollars on behalf of a union. On line 3, they are not to provide compensation or paid leave to the teachers to engage in any union activities. There are exceptions to this. So employees can use their own sick leave and time off for union activities, and the union can reimburse the districts if they want to send these employees off. Right now, American Falls allows teachers 20 days off, paid for by taxpayer dollars. Coeur d'Alene, 38 days. Boundary County, 8 days. And Filer, 1 month. Those are just some examples. Page 4 has penalties. The first time is $250. If this is a knowing violation, you purposely do this, it's $1,500. And any additional violations are $2,500. The Attorney General or the county prosecutor are the ones to investigate and enforce. So page 5, this talks about nothing in this section, and that section is found on page 3 and 4, authorizes a public employer who currently does not have authority to engage in collective bargaining. So no additional unions are covered by this. And again, on line 5, this does not affect firefighter unions. Line 7 does not affect city law enforcement. And line 9, this is for the Gowan Field firefighters, does not require a public employer to take action which would violate U.S. code or jeopardize their federal money. So I would stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions? I see a few. Representative Egbert, do you have a question for Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do. Thank you, Representative Boyle. When the previous version of this was introduced in this committee, I know I had asked you why we were treating different types of government unions differently, and you directed me to a 1989 AG's opinion. I appreciate that, that you said, stated that cities could form unions. I have read that opinion. And I agree, it does say that. My question is then, why in this new version are we exempting counties from it?
Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, that was a compromise that we came to with law enforcement.
Representative Hawes?
Thank you, Chairman Holtzclaw and Representative Boyle. I had just a few questions about where this sits in our section of code. I noticed that we're adding a new chapter of Title 44, and when I was doing my work to get ready about this potential legislation, I tried to look up where we have statutory sections about teachers' unions, and I found those in Title 33. And so Title 33 recognizes teachers' unions, and it also sets forth the negotiation requirements. So I'm curious why Title 44 was chosen instead of situating this in Title 33.
Representative?
Thank you, Chairman. Representative, it's here because this is the labor code, and we're also talking about firefighters not being part of this, not being thrown into this, and law enforcement. So we felt that would be the best place to put this.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Appreciate that. I don't practice in this area of law. I am a lawyer, but at first when I was reading this bill, I was like, who is this actually about, right? Because it's titled government unions. But the word teacher doesn't appear, I think, until page 6. And so I was wondering, why the structure of the bill in that way, and why are we just focusing on teachers and not fire and police?
Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, last year when we did this bill, there were some questions from law enforcement and firefighters. So we wanted to make it very clear this year, this is not going to affect them.
A follow-up?
One quick follow-up. Go ahead.
Thank you. Why were teachers specifically carved out? Teachers unions, if the fire and police unions sort of act in the same way.
Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Because I don't believe that the state gives city law enforcement and the firefighters any state money directly like we do for the public schools. As you know, K through 12 receives over 50% of our general fund, so it's a huge amount.
Representative Furman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Boyle, I'm struggling with your opening statement today. I mean, you said this bill is about unions, except all the unions that exist except teachers' unions. So I feel like this bill is about teachers' unions. Why didn't you start with that?
So, Representative Boyle, Representative Furman, what we're going to do is we're going to ask questions we don't know the answers to, and then we're going to save any discussion about the bill and how we feel and all the rest. And I'll let your question go, but I just want you to know that's what we're going to do. So, discussion on the bill. Questions on the bill, discussions on the bill will be after a motion if there's any. Questions of the bill, if you are unfamiliar or you don't know about the bill, you can ask questions. So the question was, go ahead, Representative
Mr.
Furman.
Chairman, if I may, there's a lot of intent that's in here, and I'd just like to ask what the intent of Representative Boyle is. And that's the gist of my question. You start out saying this is about unions, but then it's just about teachers' unions, and I'd like to know why you've chosen to go that route.
Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, it is about all unions. As I said, we wanted to clarify law enforcement and firefighters are not included here to make them happy. So that's why it's here. That's why I said unions.
Representative McCann?
I have another question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Representative Boyle, and in saying that the other unions that are government unions covered under the law but not under this bill don't have taxpayer dollars, but that, to me, that statement can't be true because our tax monies from paying property taxes is public dollars that goes to the city, who then negotiates with our firefighters and our police. So therefore, it is taxpayer dollars, and they are able, under the law, to do many things that the teachers also do. And so I'm again struggling that we are treating one government union different than the other government unions.
Representative Boyle, would you like to comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, schools come from state funds and from your county funds. And as far as I know, firefighters and law enforcement are from your taxpayer money from the counties or the cities.
Thank you. Representative Furman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Boyle, we collect sales tax from all the citizens across the state, and a portion of that sales tax goes back to cities and counties. How is it that there is no state tax dollars going to counties and cities, as you just said?
Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, I guess the difference is that 50% of the firefighters and the law enforcement is not coming from the general fund. The sales tax is going to the cities and the counties, and they're spending it however they wish. And if they don't want their firefighters and their law enforcement to use that money for union activities, then they need to bring a bill forward.
Follow up?
Go ahead.
So what I'm hearing then is that the state gives the cities and the counties money from sales tax revenue, and as you just said, they can then use that how they want. But when the schools, through a contract, give money to the teachers, they can't use that however they want?
Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, we are saying that we do not want them to do that any longer. We want all of that money to go to the classrooms. We hear every single year in this body, we're not giving the schools enough money. So we are asking that they not use the money we're giving them for the kids to teach them how to read and do math, that money not be used for union activities.
One more follow-up, if I may. It's a
Go
good
ahead.
one.
Go ahead. Okay.
I guess I don't understand, and I'd love for you to help me better understand. I was not aware that schools themselves are cutting checks to the unions. I thought union dues and such things are coming from the teachers themselves. And schools currently, do lots of payroll deductions for supplemental insurance policies, for the United Way and other charities. But for some reason, we don't want the teachers to be able to use their payroll deductions towards their union. So I'm missing a disconnect here, if you could help me, because it's my understanding that the teachers, it's their money through their contracts that they're spending on unions. I don't know of any school that's writing a check to a union.
Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe you missed that in my opening. There are at least 2 school districts in this state that do pay the union dues. And that's Boise and Twin Falls, and perhaps there's more.
Representative Weber?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Boyle, looking at the civil penalty section, for a member of the union that violates this, there's penalties. if there is a member of the school that's not part of the union that violates similar provisions outlined here, are they held to the same civil penalties?
Representative Boyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, it does not say union in this. If you will look on page 4 and line 35, it says a person.
Follow up? Okay. All right, we do have some public testimony, and we're going to start. Thank you, ma'am. The first person that would like to testify is Max Nelson. Sir, come on up. I know you're an attorney, but we're only going to give you 2 minutes to talk. So you can begin, and I'll be pretty lenient with this because we're kind of figuring this out. But you can begin by stating who you are, and then we will be pretty lenient with the time. Go ahead, sir.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Maxford Nelson, here on behalf of the Freedom Foundation. We're a nonprofit organization dedicated to individual liberty, free enterprise, and limited accountable government. House Bill 745 stands for the simple proposition that government should refrain from using taxpayer funds or public resources to subsidize ideological interest groups, including, most predominantly in this case, teachers' unions. The U.S. Supreme Court has recognized that public sector collective bargaining is inherently political, as it necessarily involves questions about the proper size, cost, and operations of government. Now, many Idaho school districts currently lack authority to determine how they will handle labor relations because Idaho law has required since 1977 that the roughly 83 school districts with unionized teachers determine compensation, benefits, and conditions of employment through collective bargaining. And our research has shown that teachers' unions have followed the advice of the National Education Association and taken advantage of the collective bargaining process to shift the costs for union operations and advocacy to Idaho taxpayers, giving unions disproportionate influence that families and students lack. House Bill 745 would restore balance and fairness by drawing a clear line between school activities and union activities. The bill would end the practice of school districts deducting union dues from teachers' paychecks, give public employees more control over their union membership and payments, but the bill would not prevent any teacher who wants to join a union from doing so. House Bill 745 would prevent teachers from being paid by school districts to engage in union advocacy at taxpayer expense, a practice which we estimate costs the state about $500,000 per year. It would also prevent school districts from using taxpayer funds to pay the cost of union dues for educators with tax dollars, a practice that we estimate costs about $1.2 million per year. These are all balanced, common sense reforms that are broadly supported by Idaho voters. I think there's a lot of interesting technical questions about the legislation. I'm happy to answer those, but we would strongly support your support for this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sure you'll have a question or two. Representative Egbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one.
Okay, all right.
Thank you so much for being here. In the Supreme Court case that you mentioned that said, I believe how you put it was that government unions were inherently political. Were they talking about all types of government unions?
Mr. Nelson?
In the context of the Janus versus AFSCME Supreme Court case, the plaintiff in that case was a state employee out of Illinois. But the court was basically saying the process of collective bargaining involves fundamentally free speech, political related questions about the size, cost, and scope of government.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Follow up. Thank you for that clarification. Then, so that would flow to all types of government unions, then firefighters and police as well as being inherently political.
Mr. Nelson?
Again, I don't think the court made any statement about the nature of unions as organizations. The court was saying that the process of collective bargaining in government is a process that affects fundamentally political questions about the size, cost, and scope of government. So that would include collective bargaining for police and fire. Now, I will note that the federal courts have also looked at a number of other state laws that have treated different groups of public employees differently for the purposes of labor relations. And generally, courts have held that it is perfectly permissible for a state to treat first responders differently than other types of public employees in light of the important life-saving and emergency response services that they they provide, and the importance of making sure that those services are provided without interruption. And I would just also note that Idaho law on this subject is already, shall we say, a patchwork. Firefighters and teachers have statutory collective bargaining rights, for example, but no other groups of public employees do. There's maybe an implied right for city employees to collectively bargain, but it's not specified in statute. So there is already quite a disparity in treatment in existing Idaho law in terms of how different public employee groups are treated for labor purposes.
Thank you. That's all the questions I see, but don't go too far. We may have some more later.
Fair enough.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Crystal Villeneuve. Hi, how are you today?
Hello.
Hi.
Doing well. Sorry, I'm very short. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Crystal Villanueva. I am an educator in the Valley View School District, and I am a member of my local teacher association. I'm here today to respectfully urge you to vote no on House Bill 745. While this bill is presented as limiting taxpayer support for union activity, I want to share what it will mean in practice for collaborative work happening inside of our communities. For the past 4 years, our association has partnered with our district to host the Valley View Back to School Fair. This is not a political event. It is a community service initiative built on partnership and trust. It is a joint effort between educators and district leadership, school board members, medical providers, colleges, local law enforcement, businesses, and community agencies who come together to serve families before the school year begins. Our superintendents and school board members take turns attending each year to connect directly with families and to strengthen trust between schools and our communities. Because our schools are trusted and accessible community hubs, we host the event in district buildings. In 2022, we served over 1,000 individuals and families. In 2023, we served 1,150. In 2024, we reached 1,200. In 2025, we surpassed 1,200. We've never turned anyone away. Families receive school supplies, physicals, dental and vision screenings, vaccinations, haircuts, food boxes, and connections to essential services, all at no cost and completely optional. This event has been featured on local news and highlighted at national conferences focused on education and community service because it is a model of successful collaboration. It reduces strain on public agencies, supports working families, and ensures students arrive at school prepared to learn. If House Bill 745 passes, an event like ours may lose access to school facilities and district partnership. Renting private venues large enough to serve over 1,200 people would not be financially sustainable for us, and the unintended consequence of this bill will be dismantling of collaborative programs that benefit Idaho families. I urge you to vote no on House Bill 745 and preserve the ability of local districts and educator associations to work together in service of our communities. I also invite you to attend our Back to School Fair in August to see the impact firsthand of what local education associations, school districts, and communities can do together. Thank you for your time, and I stand for any questions.
Your testimony, Representative Levitt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name, but I do appreciate the work that you're doing. I do have a question. Did you take off time today to come here and testify in front of the committee, or are you being paid to be here right now?
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Representative, thank you for the question. I did take time off to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Up next, from the Idaho Education Association, Shane Roundhart. You here? Oh, there we go. There he is. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. It's Shane Reichert. Thank you,
Kurt.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Shane Reichert. I am General Counsel for the Idaho Education Association. My understanding is that one of the main concerns with the sponsor of this bill is that taxpayer money will be utilized to fund the Education Association or the Teachers Union. Let me be abundantly clear. The Idaho Education Association and our local affiliates are completely funded by member dues. We do not, in any circumstances, receive taxpayer funding. Notably, the statement purpose of House Bill 745 suggests a financial benefit to taxpayers, when in fact the fiscal note confirms that there is no fiscal impact at all. In fact, the fiscal note reads as follows: this legislation causes no increase or decrease in revenue. That underscores that there is no taxpayer funding currently flowing to the union to eliminate. What I think this does is justify unequal treatment and penalties based on subsidies that do not exist. Which leads to my second point. House Bill 745 is an unequal application of law and intentionally does not regulate unions neutrally. It's been talked about a lot today. So specifically, it carves out exceptions for public sector unions, firefighters, and law enforcement who engage in identical activities, selectively targeting teachers. In fact, the bill penalizes speech based on who is speaking. For instance, this was noted earlier, a non-teacher union member could advocate for legislation and face no consequence. On the other hand, a teacher union member could advocate for identical legislation and face penalties. There's no organization in the state of Idaho that has to follow the same regulations or be subject to penalties other than the IEA and our teachers' unions. Finally, these provisions raise serious concerns regarding constitutional and statutory concerns. So punishment for protected speech and association, viewpoint and speaker discrimination, unequal treatment of similarly situated individuals and organizations with overbroad and vague definitions. So for those reasons, I urge you to oppose this bill. One other note. The entire discussion is about Title 33, educators, and unions, including charter schools, which is also in Title 33 as well. Yet here we are. At the very least, this should be rerouted to the Education Committee. Thank you, and I stand for questions.
Thank you, sir. Representative Furman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Reichert, just to clarify, you said you're general counsel, you're an attorney?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. So I feel like this is an appropriate question for you. One of the big concerns I have with a lot of things that come through this building are pieces of legislation that we do that puts the state at risk of lawsuits. Could you tell me if, in your professional opinion, does singling out a specific union in this case, does that put the state in any risk of a lawsuit?
Mr. Rauhart?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative. I appreciate that. I would say my opinion is similar to an AG opinion, which is my opinion. It's not case law, right? It's not statutorily in law in Idaho. But I would tell you this, I wouldn't be up here speaking about freedom of association, freedom of speech, and unequal protection if I didn't think those created constitutional challenges.
Thank you, Representative McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and
Reichert.
Mr. Reichert.
Reichert.
I only Reichert. Okay, I heard Shane, but I didn't want to call you Shane. So
Don't go Shane is what I hear.
All right. So thank you very much for being here, as everyone. So a question came up a couple of times about Boise and Twin Falls, that they are paying outside of contract to people, and from my research and my understanding that those monies that the districts may give to the teachers have been for professional development and other areas. But again, if a teacher decides that money, once it becomes that teacher's money, it is no longer a taxpayer dollar. It's part of their maybe of their package or the discretionary funds for their professional development. And so I feel that maybe the narrative needs to be cleared up, because it's specifically saying Boise and Twin Falls are doing things wrong. And I wondered if you had any knowledge of that or could clarify that for the committee.
Mr. Reichert.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, thank you for the question. Ironically, the Freedom Foundation actually initiated a lawsuit against the Boise Education Association on that specific issue with respect to release and funds to the union, and lost in a court. The issue here is that this is really controlled at the local level, which is an ideal of the state of Idaho and our political, I think, goals. And so that's where it should stay. And those are contracted throughout each and every district, which is also outlined in code, which the school board is employed to do this work.
Thank you. Follow up?
A follow-up.
Go ahead.
So in this legislation then, and I asked a question about, or I guess I commented about the Children's Fund and being an affiliate, because this bill addresses affiliates of the union. And so do you see that in your duties as representing the union, that this is, again, something that the IEA or, has been treated differently than any other union that the government may, have right now. So that's not real clear, but does that make sense?
Mr. Reichert?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, I'll do my best to interpret.
Okay.
From my perspective, I don't think there's preferential treatment if that's what you're implying. What I would tell you is that the local affiliations and the Idaho Education Association try to work collaboratively with districts. And what you heard from Ms. Villanueva is that very fact. Yeah. And there are situations that we're utilizing school facilities in conjunction for the benefit of the district, and they see value there. And I think that's going to be really impacted if this bill passes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start over here. Representative Bingham?
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Reichert, does the IEA receive any taxpayer funding?
Representative Reichert?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, no.
Okay, so follow up, please. Thank you. As Representative McCann was talking about, it's my understanding that teachers in Boise and Twin, all teachers receive stipends for professional development. And some of those teachers choose to use some of their stipend to pay for union fees. Is that correct? But do you know if all teachers get that same stipend?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, yes, all teachers receive that stipend. It's based on certification as a teacher, but they all receive it across the board, and then they can voluntarily use it as they see fit. So, as Representative McCann has alluded to, the money goes to them through the payroll, and then they're permitted to do what they want with the funds that they receive, whether they're part of the union or not.
Representative Levitt?
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a point of inquiry.
Go ahead.
When it comes down to it, it's like I believe that we do not vote on the SOP. We vote on the text of the bill.
That's correct. Go ahead, Vice Winger.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Reichert, trying to follow the logic of your argument. And in some ways, it's sympathetic to it, but this bill applies to kind of some employees, but not others. But yet, this current law, that we have is also had for teachers and not the rest of them there. So, I wonder if you agree with. I could argue that the current collective bargaining for providing teachers is entirely unconstitutional because we don't have that for other government employees.
Sir, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Representative, entirely unconstitutional, although these other parties are actually collectively bargaining.
Follow up?
Well, yeah, so follow up. So again, if you have I feel like what you're arguing is that we should take this same kind of law and apply it across the board to all government unions and no carve-outs, but yet there already was a carve-out in place in the current law in place for teachers. So if we follow that logic, we shouldn't have collective bargaining for teachers at all.
Sir?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, I appreciate that logic, so to speak, but again, there's no harm because what is occurring is that collective bargaining is happening between firefighters and police, and they're not being limited based on their speech or association, which is a constitutional right.
Representative Bruce?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Reichert. Do you believe that there's any monetary value for the union for using government systems to collect payroll dues?
Mr. Reichert?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, in fact, this was actually litigated in 2009, ultimately the Supreme Court in the Voluntary Contributions Act, and it was found that the state couldn't provide any evidence that payroll deduction cost any money to the district.
Representative Bingham?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Reichert, it's my understanding that in 2011, the Students Come First legislation under current Idaho Code 331271, the statute says that a board of trustees may negotiate with a local professional employee organization. The change was from shall to may. So my understanding is that school boards are not legally required to enter into collective bargaining, but because it was changed to may negotiate. So is it your understanding that districts have to negotiate in collective bargaining with teachers unions, or is it that they may?
Sir, go ahead.
Representative, thank you for the question. I would have to go back to the legislative history. However, I think it needs to be read in conjunction with the other statutes, which also requires a 50% plus one showing to the district. And I think that's why I would suspect, And that's the caveat. I would suspect that had something to do with that. Because if you don't have the 50% plus one, if that's requested by the district, then the district is not required and shall would be inappropriate.
I bet I know someone that knows. Representative Egbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for a question.
Go ahead.
Just while we have an attorney here, I wanted to take advantage of that. And Mr. Reichert, did you have an opportunity to read the AG opinion that was mentioned? Yes, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering what you make of that opinion and if you think it creates any, binding authority where we can carve out police and fire and treat schools differently.
Sir?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, thank you for the question. As I indicated before, an AG opinion is an attorney opinion that can be dictated by numerous factors, including policy positioning. It does not include additional briefing. It does not include adversarial opinions, et cetera. When I review that, I don't think there's anything that precludes legislature from regulating police unions or fire unions.
Fire. Representative Boyle, would you like to come and close, please?
This bill is not to attack teachers at all, and I hope no one thinks that. I have had wonderful teachers. My children have had wonderful teachers, and there are great teachers out there in Idaho. I know that very much. What this is attacking the current system that is taking taxpayer money that should go to the classroom for those students. I would stand for questions.
Thank you. Representative, go ahead.
For a motion,
Go ahead.
I move a motion to send House Bill 745 to the House floor with a due pass recommendation. I would like to ask for a roll call.
Representative Furman?
That would go ladies first, Mr. Chairman.
Well, she pointed at you, so I'm just doing what she says, so.
Well, that's wise. Thank you. I'll be brief. I think that if we want to have a conversation about teachers' unions and fire and police and linemen and any union in general, I think that's great. We should have that conversation. But we're here to focus on policy. And I think anytime that we are discussing a policy that is likely to open us up to lawsuits, I think that's not prudent of us to do. The debate today seems to be all about why teachers' unions should not be using public dollars, and then the examples are given for payroll deductions and PTO. But the unions have told us they reimburse for that PTO. They've also told us that on the payroll deductions, the Supreme Court ruling said that it does not affect any expense or cost. And I can attest to that as someone who's worked in the insurance industry and worked with schools who do payroll deductions for lots of different voluntary insurance benefits. It does not cost any more to check another box. It's part of the process that's already being covered and paid for. We do it with other charities, as was spoken, and I do not understand why that somehow is using taxpayer dollars. To say that specific taxpayer dollars are going to a couple school districts in the state because it was negotiated, well, it's been cleared to us that those are for professional development dollars that those teachers are able to use how they see fit. So it bothers me that we're, as a majority body of Republicans who believe in small limited government and believe in personal rights and freedoms, we're basically telling employees of the schools what they can and cannot do with their money once they get paid. And I have a fundamental problem with that. So if we want to bring a bill that says, hey, no teachers unions, period, end of story, and that's the bill, great, let's do that. But this bill doesn't do that. This bill is specifically targeting a group while excluding other groups and going against things that I fundamentally disagree with. It's something that I just simply can't support.
The Secretary will call row on the motion to send House Bill 745 to the floor with a due pass.
Chairman Holtzclaw?
Aye.
Vice Chair Wisniewski?
Aye.
Representative Weber?
No.
Representative McCann?
No.
Representative Beiswinger?
Yes.
Representative Bruce?
Aye.
Representative Burgoyne?
Yes.
Representative Kaler?
Yes.
Representative Furman?
Nay.
Representative Levitt.
Yes.
Representative Tanner. Representative Bingham.
No.
Representative Egbert.
No.
Representative Hawes.
Motion passes 8-6. Thank you, committee. We will not have a meeting Friday.